guys remember when Iger said during the earnings call? This was just like a week or two ago when Iger said,
"Yes, I know exactly where you're going with this.
We've got two big movies still to come out, two big blockbusters, so we're not done there." It's like, yes, you just had this.
Right. Oh,
historically the biggest flop.
Blockbusters coming out.
The biggest flop in the history of cinema. That's your blockbuster.
That's it. We did.
You make John Carter look good.
Let me bring this up because let me refresh this real quick, and then we have a guest joining us backstage. We're going to bring him in real fast. But my God, this is the video I put out today. You want to know how many people are interested in this? This is one of the fastest I've ever had. This video came out 4 hours ago. That's the public counter at 40,000 views. It's actually over 50 in reality. So Disney lost $300 million on this movie. And we're going to talk more about this, like Ron brought up earlier, economic opportunity costs and whatnot. This is the train wreck of epic proportions. And this is why we keep doing these videos, is because they're getting attention. They're getting attention on Wall Street, and Disney does not like this. And they're even getting the attention of certain people at Disney themselves, which we've kind of had a suspicion on, and it's coming into play. But what is also coming into play is our friend backstage, Mr. John.
Oh, nice segue. What a good segue.
Hello.
No, I mean, not as good as Old White Men, but that was still a pretty good segue.
You know, you were the old white man. I had to give John something else. So, John, what's up, my friend?
I'm doing well. How about you doing this Sunday evening?
We are doing fantastic, buddy. How are you?
Better than Disney.
I'm doing pretty well. I saw how awful both the Marvels is estimated to do, and I watched your video. Really well done. Great analysis on that. 10.2 million is what they're saying. Is the estimate? I think
10 tomorrow.
It's going to come under 10. It's going to come under 10. You watch.
John, Valiant has made more off the Marvels than Disney at this point.
Yes.
I would not be surprised.
I have not lost $300 million on making videos on the Marvels. I have.
Wait a minute. You're telling me you've made it. Valiant, you're telling me that you've made more than $300 million more than Disney on the Marvels?
In the net on a journal entry on paper, technically, you're correct.
It's amazing. It's amazing what having a social media friend like me can do, huh?
We need to go find some. We need to find some guys down on their luck and say, by the way, do you know how much more you've made by doing nothing than Disney on the Marvels?
Do you know how much more you've made by being friends with Ron Coleman?
What's the negative interest rate on this investment, Valiant?
A lot.
Also, like, even if you bring up the Guardians example, because if that's like the only win that they can honestly arguably have, you're still talking about hundreds of millions lost on every single other project. So it's like, even if you somehow even were willing to admit, even like, let's say the most generous of generous saying they got 100 million somehow from that, guess what? That's still not making up for the multiple hundreds of millions of dollars they've lost on every other project. In addition to that, you want to see an example of how to get things done? Super Mario Brothers. Right, that movie, you spent how much money on that film and got $600+ million back in net gain profit.
It's also an advertisement for their video game that they just dropped this year too.
You paid for the film, you paid for everything else that you sunk into it, and guess what? You also did. You just paid ahead for all of the future films that you were already planning on doing. MCU has lost
the theme park they're building.
Let me broaden this beyond just the money, because I think there's a huge story here that needs to be covered. And that is that we are told every day, you know, about the way that society is based on the political powers and the degrees of representation that each side has. Mm-hmm. When you look at something like this is a megaphone loud and clear that society, period, does not support this sort of thing. They don't enjoy having previously masculine-centric franchises transformed into female-centric franchises, and I suspect it would be the same in the opposite direction. If you, I've used this to be funny, but I'll use it again. If you were to try to make Polly Pocket into a masculine toy line, I don't think that would work. I don't think Pedro Pocket is going to be successful. But I think that what this says is, with the Marvels collapse, you know, women didn't go see this. Some men, I guess, attempted to, but I think it says that we are in the common sense majority by far. The folks on this panel who look at this film in a certain way. And the access media who has been preaching and proselytizing that, you know, you're not virtuous and you're a bad person if you don't support this, they're in a tiny minority, because the market has spoken and they have voted with their dollars. Whatever the outcomes of elections might be with votes, the vote in the market is demonstrating itself right here, and it is drastically different than what we see presented to us via the intelligentsia.
Well, it's funny. I actually was thinking about that this weekend, kind of thinking about the new Hunger Games movie, because I think that could even be part of that. I know it's a prequel. I know it's not going to get the same amount of money as the original books and the original movies did, but okay. In Hunger Games, it was very balanced. Like, men definitely saw the Hunger Games, but it leaned more female. Let's just be real. It was a little more female, but the new movie, who's the main character? Someone that we know is going to be an evil man down the road.
Mm-hmm.
So I actually was
patriarchy.
I actually was thinking of that, Pro. It's kind of like, I wonder if that kind of hurt this movie to a degree, because how many girls want to see like an evil dude?
The patriarchy.
No one did. No one really wanted to see this, and that's why the last 2 weeks have been glorious, because you had last weekend male-dominated audience, no one saw it. This weekend you have a female. That's because for Hunger Games it's probably about 60-40.
Yes.
For most MCU it's also about 60-40 the other way, and yet no one showed up. Less people, in fact, showed up for this than they did for the Marvels.
And that is really impressive that Rachel Zegler managed to not only make Disney look bad when they try to do Snow White, but also managed to make herself look bad by underperforming barely Brie Larson from the weekend prior. That is a twofer that is just hard to pull off.
Didn't you hear that because the actor strike's over, that means that they can promote their movies now, and so that's of course going to make a difference. Remember that was the big narrative, and now it's they've only had a week to do that. So
you saw they didn't quickly schedule a new premiere.
What'd you do, man? You just pull yourself
your friend Tony. Your friend Tony's still pushing that narrative.
Oh, Tony is pushing it very hard. Yes.
You'll notice Disney did not hurriedly say, "Get him on the carpet! Get him on the carpet! We'll do it anyway." No. You know why? Because it has no impact.
And if anything, it moved it down, because the projections going into this weekend, in some cases, were higher and ended up coming below. And so it's like, so marketing your film actually does worse for you? Who would have thought?
Box Office Pro pushed it higher to 44. I think they had it at like 46 on the high end, and it was 55 on the high end, and they said 47 is where they would come in, and it came in at 44. And they previously, a month ago, they had it at 35 to 45, and it came in at 44. So,
and globally, Trolls won.
Yep.
Yeah.
Not by much, but Trolls won.
Trolls beat Zegler. Trolls beat Brie. Finally, they were right the whole time.
Devoured it. Nance says that they devoured the global box office.
I mean, I know they like the clever. It's a snake, so it eats stuff, and it's like, okay, so snake devour. Great. This is, I mean, I'm not picking on Nancy Tartaglione. I'm not picking on Anthony D'Alessandro. I know they got a job to do. It's deadline. They got to produce titles for what they need to do. But that being said, this is tantamount. Let's rock this back to the reality of. This is like biggest movie in the world right now this weekend on March 31st,
the biggest movie you've ever seen in Iceland.
I like Tony's. Tony's at least was honest in a certain way, because it chirped. Yeah. It chirped to 44 million.
Yes.
It's like, the chirp is about right for how much that
broken-winged sparrow.
But I saw one said soars. I think that might have been the Hollywood Reporter.
I like that one. They use soar a lot. It doesn't always mean. I think they just are misspelling SORE.
Maybe. John? Sorry.
Yes.
Oh, I thought you were saying something.
Oh no.
Okay. No, but I think that this, and I have not watched this yet. I do want to see this. I was a huge fan of the Hunger Games. Years ago when they first came out, where of course Jennifer Lawrence was the first female ever in a movie in the history of the world, and it was so great to see they finally put a woman in a Hollywood film when she was in the first Hunger Games movie. It was amazing, but I loved it. I even read the books. I thought the books were great. Mm-hmm. My oldest, who is now off in college, she read the books too. She went out and she bought Songbirds and Snakes. She read the book probably a year ago or whatever it was, at least a year ago, and she really enjoyed it. I didn't read that book yet, so
I didn't finish the book. I found it kind of depressing, because like where the original ones, yes, they're in a very depressed world, but there's hope that's running throughout the books. This, like, it just felt hopeless. Like there was nothing that you could really root for because I mean the main character is Snow.
Yeah.
Patriarchy.
Yeah. That's just it.
And it also, I mean, obviously the prequels do that with Anakin becoming Darth Vader and the Empire coming over. So I get that, but at the same time, like Hunger Games isn't Star Wars. So,
Yeah,
exactly. Make sure you're subscribed to Valiant Renegade and join us every Sunday at 6 p.m. Eastern for the live show.